Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to go over my sixth and final game of the San Diego Club Championship U1400 division. The guy who beat me in round three unfortunately had clinched the number one spot already by the time I played this game, but I could still come in second place as long as I won this game. And I think that this game was probably the most fun, interesting game that I played all tournament. So let's just jump right into the game. I was playing with white. And there were a lot of normal developing moves here to start. E4, E5, bishop to C4, developing our knights, and D3 I played. Okay, black played A6 here, and then I played bishop G5, pinning the knight. And B5 was played by my opponent, and I just retreated the bishop back to B3. So these are all pretty standard moves. I would say that some of these pawn pushes forward can leave, black with some weaknesses later in the game, depending on how the game goes, and this does become important a little bit later, as we'll see. So, okay, bishop b4 was played, pinning the knight, and I thought for a little while here, I played knight to e2 is pretty natural here, kind of to defend the knight, but I wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, so I just played knight to f3 instead. And h6 was played now, retreating the bishop back, queen to e7, and it kind of seems like almost like a game of chicken as to who wants to castle first here. So I just went ahead and castled, and I had a feeling after I castled he was going to go ahead and play g5 immediately, which he did right away. So I retreated the bishop again to g3. And so, this can be good because it kind of propels the pawns forward to attacking a castled king. But I felt pretty safe at the moment. So we'll see how this continues. D6 was played. And here, I thought for a little while again, because I really wanted to play either knight or bishop to the d5 square. And I didn't end up playing it, but because I kept seeing this continuation here of knight to d5 captures, and then bishop to b7. And I didn't see anything concrete after that. So I just decided not to do that, but it turns out this is actually the right set of moves here. And the key is after this occurs, white should be playing d4 to grab some more of the center here. And if black actually takes this pawn, it gets pretty messy for black right away. So white would trade pieces here, and then the queen would grab on d4, basically providing a double attack on the rook and on the bishop. And after black castles, you'd actually go just straight up win the bishop here with that sequence of moves. So pretty difficult to calculate that, but interesting nonetheless. I did not see that far forward. Maybe if I continued somehow calculating, but that's pretty difficult. So instead of doing that, after d6, I just played rook to e1, just a little improving move. I think the downside of this move clearly is that it kind of repinned the knight again. So not ideal, but getting my rook into the center for now. And here we just traded bishops, and I played d4 here. And now, according to the engine, to the eval, we are pretty much completely equal. Black is minus 0.4 according to Stockfish right now. But black actually castled here. And I think this was the first key mistake in the game for black. I understand wanting to connect the rooks here, but black has really weakened both sides of the board with these pawn pushes forward. I think that, well, clearly the king would be more safe in the middle of the board as opposed to castling here. And I saw this castling move and I wanted to take advantage of it immediately. So I played a3. And it's also a little bit funny because actually a4 is the best move here. Because this pawn can't go forward, this would actually force some opening of lines here right away for me. But I played a3 instead. It's more natural because you're kind of pushing the pawns and attacking a piece, right? So I played a3, and my opponent actually just traded the bishop for the knight here. And this is actually a little bit of a mistake because of this castled king, and because of these pawns very weak here, this kind of did a part of my job for me by opening up a line on the b file here. So after that, my opponent played h5. So yes, I'm getting some attacking chances here, but it's pretty clear that we're both on the attack right now, hunting each other's kings. So really the question is who can strike first and most accurately here. So after h5, I played h4. It's important not to just play h3 here. This would kind of lead into more problems because h4 can be played by black. I'd have to retreat the bishop, and then g4 is coming, and this just turns into a nightmare, really, very quickly. So you don't want to play h3. Instead, you want to play h4. And after we traded here, my bishop is now stopping the progress of this black pawn. It's also pinning this knight temporarily. So some good things happening on my side. My opponent swings the queen over. And I played queen to d3, really starting to prepare to attack my opponent's king. And a funny moment occurred here as well in the game. So my opponent played queen to g4. Not sure exactly what this is doing, but one of the things that it does do that bad for black is that it actually hangs the knight. And not only does it hang the knight, but after you take that knight, you're going to be forking the two rooks here. But I was so intent on playing my move a4 that I honestly didn't even notice this entire sequence of events. Now a4 is so tempting and so good because no matter what black does, if black takes, we're opening up the queen with check. We're bringing the rook into the game, right? If black pushes, it's kind of the same thing. We're attacking this pawn here with the queen. We can take back with the pawn, but I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably swing the rook over. So it's opening lines. It's making life a lot more dangerous for black, no matter what black does. Even if black ignores it and just plays some random move, let's say here, like we're still opening lines here. So that's super tempting. And I missed this completely, like I said. But the funniest part is that, according to the engine, the best move was a4 anyway, which is kind of funny. So, like, I just want to go ahead and play this. It's still a good move if you capture the knight. White is still certainly up in the game. But it's kind of funny because you're not going to win any of these rooks here. So first, after this capture, black can play here, creating this battery, forcing white to respond to this, obviously, or get checkmate in one move. So after g3, black can play the rook here, and he's starting to create some problems on the f-file as well. So we would have to do a sequence of events here, like something like this, which would keep white's advantage in the game. But it's kind of funny how it's not that simple after this bishop move. It's still a good move, but nonetheless. Anyways, I did play a4. And now black did line up his rook here, threatening checkmate, and I responded with g3, which is, I think, the only move in this position. Yeah, I mean, it's the only good move in this position. And then black decided to actually finally defend this knight with rook to f8, but this kind of gave me a pretty big advantage tempo here. So I went ahead and grabbed the pawn. And if black takes back, we have check here, which we're probably not going to play. I would probably first certainly play queen captures here and go from there. But so I played captures on b5, and black played knight to d5. Now, one of the things I was actually worried about here when I was making some of these pawn moves, I was really thinking that I made a mistake not to play king to h2, because that would cut off the queen from kind of infiltrating through the structure. And I was very worried about, like, let's say in a series of moves here, black goes here, I take, black plays the knight here. I was very worried about possibly getting mated or getting attacked on the h2 square. It turns out that this really, first of all, wasn't that much of a threat. Number one, because I can always escape with my king out. Number two, because the queen is on this diagonal, which I did also notice, which really helped me relax in this position, because I was very worried about my king's safety, but I knew that I could always swing the queen over to f1 to deflect any kind of, shenanigans with the queen here. So it turns out that this really wasn't that much of a threat after all, which I wasn't totally aware of. But so let's see. just going back to what actually happened in the game, black played knight to d5. And again, I kind of had a feeling of what black was trying to do here. Black was preparing to play knight to f4, attacking queen with that move. So let's just say this happens. Attacking the queen, and if I move the queen out of the way, trying to maybe find some mate here on g2. But the problem is that my attack comes sooner. So for the first and only time in this video, pause the video and see what the best move is for white here. Now there's two knights hanging. There's a lot of stuff going on here. But there's one clear best move that really just wins the game straight up for white. So pause the video, think about it, and I'll let you guys know in a couple seconds. Okay, so the correct move is pawn grabs the knight on c6. And the reason this is so good is because you have to think about checkmating the king here. So this pawn capture does so many positive things for me. First of all, it opens up my queen. Obviously, it wins the knight. But it also prevents black's king from moving on either of these two squares, specifically the d7 square as an escape square. So it's kind of easy to forget because my bishop hasn't done anything the whole game, and black may have also not realized this at first, but my bishop is also doing a really good job of cutting off escape squares for the black king. And after this pawn makes the capture on c6, this king is actually completely locked in this whole area. So after this pawn capture, my opponent thought for a while, and then he simply just resigned the game because queen to a6, queen captures an a6 with check is coming. And so if my opponent made some random move here, this is just forced checkmate. So we're going to capture on a6. Like we just discussed, this king can't escape this way at all. So the only move for black is actually king here, and then we're just going to deliver checkmate. So the only move for black was to give up the queen for the bishop here, and then allowing the king to escape along this file. But at this point, the game would be over, obviously. So black resigned. I think this was probably my strongest game of the tournament. I think the only mistake I can really pick on for myself, which is a mistake a little bit, not too much of a mistake, but it's kind of rook e1, kind of reinforcing the pin here. We kind of discussed already that knight to d5 was the best continuation here, but not that easy to see. But I think rook e1, slight inaccuracy there. But besides that, I think I played a really solid game. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed following my games throughout the tournament. So I'm going to be continuing to play over the board chess, and I'm going to be continuing to share some of my games with you guys in hopes that you enjoy it, and also that we all learn some stuff from my mistakes and my games. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.